The SEC surprised everyone last night by filing a petition asking Judge Torres for permission to appeal her recent ruling in the ongoing rippling SEC drama. In today's episode, we'll discuss the primary arguments advanced in this filing that so vividly demonstrate the SEC's ongoing dishonesty. Further investigation into the SEC's adamant push for this appeal will involve examining the grounds it has cited for doing so. At this point, several legal experts have already deemed the SEC's probability of triumphing in this appeal to be quite minimal. In light of the illuminating information contained in their most recent briefing, make sure to watch this full piece, as it promises to shed light on several critical facets of this case and will also include the varied viewpoints aired by a group of legal analysts on Twitter in response to this event. As always, it's great to have you back at Coin Lady channel, the definitive source on all things XRP. If you're new, hit the subscribe button and the bell to receive instant notifications of new XRP-related content. If you're enjoying my stuff, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments. So, without further ado, let's go into the SEC's purported legal basis for this premature appeal. It's important to remember that appeals are typically filed after a case has come to a final resolution. This case is currently getting ready to go to trial. If things had gone according to plan, the SEC would have waited until the end of the trial to file an official appeal. In this case, however, the SEC has taken the unusual step of filing what is legally known as an interlocutory appeal in an effort to speed up the appeals process. Let's break down the supposedly irresistible arguments in favor of a speedy appeal. In a recent court filing before Judge Torres, the SEC's appeal request is based on the widespread confusion and unpredictability it has caused in the markets as a result of what they see as Judge Torres' overly broad finding. We will soon investigate to see if there is any truth to this assertion. But before we get into it, I want to highlight an insight by Bill Morgan that seems very crucial to grasp right now. Bill Morgan's exhaustive analysis has punctured the SEC's position, suggesting that they may be distorting the initial ruling by Judge Torres. The SEC is dissatisfied and shaken by Judge Torres's application of the Howey test to each transaction made by Ripple. They claim that her finding is overly broad. During this appeal phase, the SEC appears to be undermining the precise and detailed application of the Howey test and Judge Torres' verdicts, likely because they realize their ground for contesting Judge Torres' pronouncement is legally fragile. Judge Torres determined that a sizable fraction of the trades were not securities after applying the Howey test dispassionately to each individual sale. The SEC may be dissuaded from filing an instant challenge after reading Judge Torres's well-grounded and comprehensive reasoning. To push through with its appeal, however, the SEC appears to be exaggerating the scope of her verdict on the grounds that it lacked clarity. Bill Morgan seemed to have gotten right to the heart of the matter. It appears the SEC is eager to pursue an appeal based on a distorted version of the court's judicial conclusions, as he correctly points out, and he believes that the SEC's difficulties in establishing a strong ground for their appeal may be attributable to their misconstrual of the court's legal reasoning. With its most recent move, the SEC appears to be facing significant obstacles. They are likely not legally sound if they have to stoop to shaping the narrative around Judge Torres' ruling. It is critical to begin our discussion with this aspect, as the SEC is currently lobbying for an appeal under exceptional circumstances, recognizing the seriousness of their plight and desperately seeking to get approval to file this appeal. It appears the SEC is interfering with the actuality of the case, perhaps because they find themselves in breach of the law, notwithstanding Bill Morgan's assertion that manipulating facts is unnecessary if one is sincerely based in the truth. As we read on in the brief, we come across a string of more outlandish claims made by the SEC, some of which are so far-fetched as to be laughable. For instance, they boldly claim that Ripple is dragging out the legal process on purpose to drain the SEC's funds. A statement with an underlying tone of humor. The SEC claims that Ripple's plan all along has been to drag out the legal procedure in order to keep selling XRP. However, the irony here cannot be ignored, as the SEC has been the constant cause of the case's delays. This is one of the most contradictory comments made to date, and it not only demonstrates the SEC's hypocrisy but also the sloppy way in which it has approached complying with the legal criteria imposed by the court. It's hard to believe that Judge Torres wouldn't take notice of this inconsistency and treat the regulating body with scorn if it were presented in a legal brief. The SEC's stance here is so arrogant it borders on narcissism. They are assuming that the court would rule in their favor just because they are a regulatory agency. They appear to believe that they can make such comments without consequence, but their pretense is obvious to everyone paying attention. This topic is presently sparking heated debates on Twitter and, to be honest, it's becoming quite a tornado. Since Judge Torres' order has the potential to sow seeds of confusion in the market, as I said at the outset of this video, the SEC is vehemently arguing for an accelerated appeal. But Stuart Alderup points out what appears to be blatantly obvious here, namely, the glaring inconsistency in the SEC's sudden demand for clarity through an urgent appeal. The SEC has been steadfast in its position that Bitcoin companies must conform closely to the rules, despite years of the chairman saying that the existing restrictions were crystal clear. It appears that the SEC is offering a series of rationales for their hasty action, which, upon closer examination, don't seem to align well. Now they are claiming an acute emergency, emphasizing an appeal to resolve the unexpected legal ambiguities surrounding cryptocurrencies, a stance that comes off as rather farcical yet significant. My second major issue is that the SEC's story seems inconsistent, which is more proof that they should not be given permission to pursue this appeal. In its desperation to win an appeal, the SEC appears to be twisting the words of Judge Torres, making it appear as though they were within the law when they were clearly not. This is especially true with regard to their market communications up until this point. This prosper has brought a significant issue to the forefront, albeit it seems almost buried away like a simple footnote, and it arguably epitomizes the SEC's present strategy nicely, but it begs the question, what is actually driving the SEC to press for this appeal so vehemently? The SEC alludes to the possibility that filing an appeal would give them more bargaining power in any settlement talks. This raises the possibility that their goal in making this appeal has already been met. The SEC's current situation puts it in a weaker negotiating position. Ripple has been successful in getting favorable rulings on most of the crucial aspects in the litigation against the SEC as settlement discussions approach. Since Judge Torres has sided with Ripple on most major points in this case, it appears the SEC is resorting to litigation tactics in a desperate attempt to maintain some level of control over Ripple by using the pending lawsuit as a bargaining chip. However, the SEC currently finds itself in a precarious position with virtually no leverage and the ongoing settlement discussions with Ripple. They are now scrambling to gain ground in order to restore some influence in the talks. It's been made quite clear in their actions as of late. Using this appeal as a club to force Ripple into submission by threatening them with a protracted court battle if they don't settle. Although Ripple's current settlement intentions are unknown, the SEC appears willing to use this appeal to strengthen its position in the hopes of extracting more favorable terms in a prospective settlement. This tactic is especially intriguing because I find desperation to be the most likely explanation for the SEC's actions. Their stated justification for seeking an appeal is illogical at best and relies on a misreading of Judge Torres's orders that has no basis in law. Their discussion of the appeal's potential for success suggests that their principal goal is to pressure Ripple into making concessions. It's important to note that many lawyers in the XRP community share the pessimistic outlook of the SEC. Further, I'd want to highlight Mark Fagels's comments, in which he admits the SEC confronts a formidable obstacle in winning clearance for this interlocutory appeal, despite his consistent support for the agency. His reluctance to support the SEC in its appeal move highlights the agency's dwindling evidence base and mounting pressure to coerce Ripple into settling, both of which are challenges made more difficult by the fact that most evidence is currently way against them. It comes to reason that Judge Torres, with her sharp understanding, We'll also see through the SEC's schemes if we are able to deduce the SEC's true intentions here. My guess is that she will rule against the SEC's appeal and explain how this case is unique from others involving cryptocurrencies. Here, the SEC primarily bases its case on precedents that have to support their claim that certain cryptocurrencies qualify as securities under certain conditions. They cite examples like the aforementioned Library and Terra Luna. This issue is one of the primary drivers of market uncertainty. However, it is quite possible that Judge Torres will dismiss the appeal by highlighting the distinctive features that distinguish XRP from cases like Terra Luna. If the SEC is unable to win this round and the trial advances, its chances of success are diminishing. Since the trial could last up to 2 years, the SEC may see major shifts in its leadership and practices during that time. During this time, XRP could benefit from a period of clarity lasting around 2 years, during which time the likelihood of a successful appeal is drastically diminished. From the looks of things, the SEC's future is bleak regardless of what Judge Torres decides about the SEC's move. In the next month or two, the SEC seems to have boxed themselves into a hole without any real leverage, and this approach appears to be a last-ditch effort to force a settlement. It's funny and depressing to see the SEC act hypocritically yet again, veering far from its stated commitment to honesty and openness. Don't forget that I'm not a certified financial planner. These videos are intended solely for amusement purposes. Before making any major financial decisions, I always tell viewers to do their own research and talk to experts. Much appreciation for your attention. A thumbs up and a subscription will show your appreciation for the video. See you later, bye.